Okay, I call the meeting to order. It's Monday, December 15th at 7 o'clock. Mayor Latham will not be present this evening, so let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Alderman Arnett,
Here.
Alderman Chun,
Here.
Alderman Dankel,
Here.
Alderwoman Erickson. Here. Alderwoman Inman.
Here.
Alderman Ketchum.
Here.
Alderman Kreinbrink.
Here.
Alderman Robinson.
Here.
Okay, at this time, I will entertain a motion for a mayor pro tem for the remainder of the committee of the whole meeting.
I'll make a motion that Rich Robinson fills in as mayor pro tem.
I'll second.
Matt, did you second? Or
Adam did.
Adam second, okay. All right, I have a motion by Alderman Dankel, second by Alderman Arnett for Alderman Robinson. We'll take a roll call on that. Alderman Arnett.
Aye.
Alderman Chun.
Aye.
Alderman Dankel.
Aye.
Alderwoman Erickson.
Aye.
Alderwoman Inman.
Aye.
Alderman Ketchum.
Aye.
Alderman Kreinbrink.
Aye.
Alderman Robinson.
Aye.
Please take your seat.
I'll be back.
Good evening. First thing we have is an audit presentation by Sikich.
Brian Lefevre is here from Sikich.
Welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you.
Good evening.
On behalf of Sikich, I'd like to thank the City Council for inviting us to present the report resulting from the audit for the city's year ended April 30th, 2025. You should all have the annual financial report. And I have prepared a few comments for you this evening, and then happy to answer any questions that you may have. Excuse me, just past the table of contents. Page 1 is on Sikich letterhead. This is where we've given our opinion on the financial statements. In order for us to give an opinion on the financial statements, we're required to follow two sets of standards. The first set of standards are the auditing standards that tell us the types of procedures we need to perform when we're conducting our audit. And then the second set of standards are the financial reporting standards that come from GASB, the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. And GASB sets the rules for financial statements for local governments such as the city. We're pleased to present what's called an unmodified opinion. And what that means is that the financial statements are presented fairly on the modified cash basis of accounting free of material misstatement, otherwise known as a clean audit opinion. Page 4, there's another report that we're required to issue. In any particular year where the city expends more than $750,000 in federal funds, you're required to have what's called the federal single audit. In this particular fiscal year, you expended just under $1.5 million in most of federal funds, and most of those related to your IEPA loan program. As part of that single audit, there's a separate single audit report that is filed with the federal government. That separate report shows that we gave an unmodified opinion on your compliance with the major program that was tested, which was the IEPA program. And there were no question costs on that program as well. This particular report that you see beginning on page 4 talks about internal controls on financial reporting, which is the other piece of the single audit. We did identify one significant deficiency related to segregation of duties. And then the second piece of this opinion is related to compliances on laws and regulations that could have a material impact. And we had an unmodified opinion and no findings related to that opinion. Just past the that opinion is the first financial statement, which is on page 7. So the first two financial statements in the GASB required financial reporting model are consolidated statements. So the statement of net position or balance sheet on page 7, this aggregates all the funds that you budget and appropriate for, puts them into one of two columns, governmental activities or business type activities. Your water and sewer funds are your business type activities. All of your other funds flow into your governmental activities. This balance sheet on page 7 and then the income statement on facing pages 8 and 9, you only see the financial statements presented this way in your annual audit report. It's required by GASB to receive that unmodified opinion. Page 9, third line up from the bottom, change in net position, both your governmental and business type activities had positive amounts there, showing that you're economically better off as a result of the year of operations. Now, what you're more used to seeing begins on page 10, and this is also a balance sheet, but here on this balance sheet, it separates your individual funds, and we don't have long-term assets and long-term liabilities. We just have your short-term cash and then any escrows that you're holding to come down to fund balance. The general fund in this report consolidates both your general and your capital funds. And down in the fund balance section, the amount of capital that was held in reserves at April 30th, 2025 is the $1,134,000. And then the remaining fund balance that you see there is your general fund in your accounting system. So the total of the two is $4,123,000. And then you can see your other fund balances there are all positive as well for your other, what's referred to as governmental funds. Page 12 shows you the operations for the year. So the revenues, collected, expenditures paid, and changes in fund balances for those same governmental funds. If we focus on your main operating fund, the general fund, you had revenues, and keep in mind, this is general and capital combined, revenues of $7,045,000, expenditures of $7,300,000, which included $1.1 million in capital. You did have $350,000 transferred over from the impact fees to cover some of that capital, the impact fee fund, excuse me. So overall, you had an increase in your fund balance of just over $106,000, starting at $4,017,000 and ending at the $4,123,000. Your other key operating funds, as I mentioned before, your water and sewer fund, page 15 presents that income statement, if you will. The sewer operating, or the sewer fund, which is both your operating fund and your capital funds, consolidated here. There is more detail on the individual sub-funds in the back of the report. You had charges for services, so in other words, billings to the property owners of $1.4 million, or just under $1.5 million. Your operating expenses of $733,000. That does not include your capital. Capital is accumulated onto the balance sheet as a capital asset, and then the allocation of the capital costs are allocated equally over the life of the asset, and that's in the form of what's called depreciation. So $587,000 for sewer. You can see the numbers side by side with water. Overall, if you look at the change in net position, an increase of $347,000 for sewer and $765,000 for water. Page 18 is the results or the financial statement for the police pension fund for the year. The city has continued to increase its contributions to the police pension fund as recommended by your actuary. $952,000 was the city's contribution. The required amounts by active members of the plan of $124,000. $1,076,000 of new dollars into the plan with investment income of $718,000 in the middle of the page there, and then your expenses for the year of $841,000. So an increase in the plan of $953,000, started the year at $7,548,000, ended the fiscal year at $8,502,000. The last thing to bring to your attention is some more information related to the pension plans of the city. So if pages 68 and 69, they're a little busy facing pages with a lot of numbers. But this is showing you on 68 the contributions made by the city on behalf of your full-time employees that are not sworn officers to the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund, or IMRF. And the dollar amount is paid in on a percent of covered payroll that's calculated for the city specifically, no different than every member of IMRF has their own calculation done by the IMRF actuaries. Your budgetary impact for the year was $64,100, which 4.72% of covered payroll. Facing page 69, you have an independent actuary that determines what your annual contribution, often called the tax levy, should be for police pension. The amount from the actuary is $770,000, and the city was able to, again, put in more than that this year, being at $952,000. So that's one side of the pension plans. You're putting in what's required by the actuary. Then the other side is to look at the financial results. Pages 71 and 72, facing page, has a lot of information for IMRF. We'll focus on the 2024 column, the top of page 72. You were at 99.1% funded, meaning the assets in the plan divided by the liability. You were at 99.1% funded, so a very well-funded plan with IMRF. The police pension plan has come a long ways. Page 74 shows that you're at 46.7% funded, up from 2020 when you were 23% funded. So significant progress in the funding of the police pension plan. And then the last page I'll bring to your attention is on page 75, which shows the investment returns for the police pension plan for the last 7 years. And as you know, the assets were consolidated into the statewide trust for all Article 3 police pension funds back in 2022. And in 2025, your rate of return was 9.68%. So a couple good years in a row in the markets, which has really helped the police pension fund. These are what I'd consider to be the highlights of the report. In conclusion, we did receive all of the information that we needed to complete the audit on a timely basis, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions from the council? Go ahead.
I have a question.
Sure.
Page 12 of the auditor's communication to the members, you make reference to the credit card procedure compliance and that there were 2 instances where the transactions were not properly approved. Could you explain to me what that means?
So this was, you're in a document called the status of the prior year comments. So page 11 is labeled Appendix A, status of prior year comments from April 30, 2024. And so this is giving you the status of that comment as of the audit we did for April 30th, 25, and it's noted that the comment's been implemented. So we did that finding was from 2024, and we did not have that same finding. It's been implemented during fiscal year 25.
Okay, that's good news, but you don't know what that particular instance was? Or what
Oh, we have
was
those documents in our work papers, but there were 2 transactions that we could not get the proper, see the documentation for the approval of those transactions.
It was 2 times that the credit card was used and not signed out. So someone ordered
City credit
something
card.
on,
Okay.
someone ordered something on Amazon and didn't actually check it out
All
or
right,
sign the
I
paper to
was
take it out. So-
interpreting that as credit cards coming through the front desk,
No.
and we were doing something incorrect.
No,
Okay,
So
I
we've-
stand corrected.
we've-
Thank you.
tried to stamp that down and get that back under control.
Yep.
No other questions? Just one comment I was going to say, just because I don't think there's ever been a year that I've seen an audit that we haven't had the segregation of duties, and I just wanted to, again, ask, because a lot of people that don't understand it are going to look at it and think, oh, we're not trying, we're not doing something. But again, with a city our size and with the amount of personnel we have, is it a true statement that it's difficult for smaller communities to have that segregation because sometimes people are doing multiple things at one time?
Correct. So most cities of your size are going to have a comment from their auditors on segregation of duties. It's what you do with that then that makes a difference. So it's an awareness. Hey, we know we have employee X that does this, and this, and that really should be done by 3 separate people. So that's why we've gone into detail and elaborated into what a perfect system looks like.
Sure.
Then you all have to decide what you're comfortable with, and this group as a whole plays into the compensating controls for that. So as I walk into a finance committee meeting and I hear questions about bills, those are compensating controls that are in place because maybe the same person that, approved a bill also entered the bill in the system, just as an example. So those are all compensating controls, but to your point, yes, it's very common to have a segregation of duties.
Thank you. I just wanted to point that out because like I
Yep.
said, sometimes people's mouths kind of drop and, they're like, well, why can't they? And it's, for example, someone's on vacation, somebody's sick, there's only one person there. Well, only one person can do it.
Correct.
Under that circumstance.
Correct.
But like you said, in a perfect world, if you've got the 3 different people available to do the 3 different steps, that's what we're gonna try to do.
Exactly.
Great. Thank you again.
You're welcome.
And I think another thing too, we could also cross-train and we could have augmentation of work duties. So the cycles are off a little bit, so 3 different people are handling those functions, but they rotate in a fashion so that the same billing cycles don't hit the same amount of time, same.
There's definitely
Timeframe?
ways to work through, and cross-training is definitely an advantage to any system of checks and balances, yep.
Perfect, thanks.
I just would like to point out, Angie did a lot of this work coordinating with the audit, and this is, I believe, at least since I've been here, the soonest we've had an audit that's ready for presentation to the council and approval. So I feel good about that. I think we're moving in the right direction.
Good. Thank you.
Agreed. Enjoy working with the city. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Brian.
Merry Christmas to you.
You as well.
Thank you. Attorney's report, I do not have anything. City clerk's report.
No report.
Okay, treasurer's report, we don't have anything. Jeff, you have anything for a city administrator's report?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you. City department reports, EMA, Tony?
On Saturday, we supported the tree lighting downtown with Chief Senni's team. We also supported the light parade. And then on Sunday, we supported traffic control at Harvest Chapel. That's all that I have.
Okay, thank you. Police, chief.
I just want to go over the events in the last 2 weeks. We had the Police Explorers, Coffee Before Business. We also did the Little Merry Christmas event, participated in the Holiday Lights Parade, played beanbag baseball. We visited Santa Claus at Angie's Sugar Buzz, and then we also had breakfast with Santa yesterday. Just kind of a quick update with the social worker. Currently, she is managing 51 follow-ups in the town right now, so very busy there. She actually, this week, she is at CIT training, so she will be CIT trained too. Our last 2 officers are there getting CIT trained. But there will be another social worker that will be with us on Tuesday, this Tuesday and this Thursday, so we'll still have our social work service there. I'm meeting with the actual social worker program on Thursday, kind of discuss where we are, where we're going, improvements, pluses and minuses, where we're at, and continue monitoring the program. Today, I actually met with DeKalb County to start the discussion of the new computer system that the county will be going to in the future. The current computer system that we use is from the 90s, and they are actually upgrading it. And the implementation process is they're looking to hopefully sign their contract first quarter of 2026. And just for funding purposes, the first entire year that program is being funded from the 911 ESTB funding for the program. And then there'll be a maintenance component for it that will be probably based on the implementation would be in 2027, 2028-ish, because their implementation is going to take roughly in between 9 months to a year. So if they sign their contract in that first quarter coming up in 2026, that'll probably put us in 2027. The fees are probably going to be very similar to what we're paying now. So I'm not anticipating a huge increase. It'll probably be a little increase, but I'll know more as that program goes on. But again, just want to stress the initial part of that program is no cost to the city. ESTB is picking up that program for the city. I actually had the ability to sit at the presentation. It is, I can say this, it is like night and day from what we have now. It is more modern, more user-friendly. It actually has the ability to let us potentially get rid of one of the systems that we currently use for our evidence packaging, where we can then have just a different evidence packaging. We struggle with the program that we have now, so it'll actually be better for us too on that. Another thing, last week, myself and Sergeant Whitecotton met with the Kendall County Chaplain Program. We're actually going to start implementing them into the police department. They'll be implementing the police department to help out on death notifications. Also be able to provide the services that they have to our officers, ride with our officers. So that's a program that's coming to us. Does not cost the city anything. It's a program that they do through Kendall County. Obviously, I said Kendall County, most of us in DeKalb, they still will provide their service in DeKalb County because DeKalb County itself does not have a chaplain program as of yet. Our traffic safety campaign, the Christmas, New Year's Eve traffic enforcement campaign began on the 12th and it'll run through January 5th of 2026. Just to give some results from the last one that we did, which was the Thanksgiving one, we issued 5 speeding citations, 2 stop sign violations, 1 registration violation, 1 no insurance citation, and we also had 1 DUI arrest during that campaign. Just want to remind that tomorrow, Santa Claus is coming to the police department. He'll be there from 5:30 to 7:30. And then on Wednesday, our last Pop with the Cop / Coffee with the Cop is going to be held this year. That'll be at Johnny K's. That's at 5 p.m. Sergeant Fosnot is putting that one on. Then I also want to read basically a great job from Sergeant Whitecott and Sergeant Meisner, Sergeant Eisenberg, Detective Rominski, Officer Hagelin, and Officer Beatty. Some of you may be aware of this, but on December 7th, 2025, at approximately 6:13 a.m., officers responded to reported domestic disturbance in the 600 block of North Ash. It was reported that a female was attempting to obtain assistance from neighbors, stating she had been beaten and appeared to have visible injuries. Witnesses in the area also observed a verbal disturbance between the female and a male subject who left the area in a newer white Ford pickup truck. Officers checked the residence and observed signs of forced injury, suspect blood, and personal items belonging to the female victim. The victim was not located on the scene. Through further investigation, the male suspect was identified as Samuel Miller, 32 of Oswego, Illinois. A statewide broadcast was issued to locate both parties. Officers with the Sandwich Police Department eventually located the victim, continued the investigation, and cooperation with the DeKalb County State's Attorney's Office led to the approval of the following felony charges: home invasion, aggravated domestic battery, criminal trespass to residents. In the early morning hours of December 5th, 2025, the U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force located Miller at his residence in Oswego, Illinois, and took him into custody without incident. Miller was processed at the Sandwich Police Department and transported to DeKalb County Sheriff's Office. And in addition to this investigation too, Sergeant Meisner was actually able to get charges authorized in Kendall County for unlawful restraint. Mr. Miller is still in the custody of the DeKalb County Jail. They actually detained him based on the crime here and his history. And like I said, he still has he has an active warrant for his arrest for Kendall County for the unlawful restraint. This was a job well done by all the officers that I listed. Detective Rominski is still working on this case, putting it together, but this was a great case by all the officers that took part in this. It was a job well done by them. Monthly report, if you get a chance to look at that. There was a lot of training throughout the month. We had officers who went to officer in charge, CIT, decision-making for critical incidents, juvenile specialist. I myself attended the new chiefs conference, basic traffic crash investigation, human trafficking, and then we had the Recovery Centers of America that came in and did a presentation for the entire department. Good community engagement again still too. A couple significant incidents on there. Our detectives follow-up cases. There was two sexual offenses that were happened during the month that are being investigated. 3 FOIA requests for the month. I just want to point out that 84% of our call volume for the month of November was proactive, and then for the entire year, 83% of our call volume has been proactive. One big thing too that I've talked about before is our evidence room. Sergeant Fosnot updated our evidence room with some updated labels, gotten rid of some more stuff that didn't need to be there anymore, and then reorganize some of our video shelves and some of our shelves there too. Sergeant Meisner had 1 K-9 deployment for the month, and then as we spoke about, I had already mentioned, Officer Santoya has successfully completed his field training and is assigned to patrol. You can look at the school resource report where he spent a lot of his time doing the Alice drill, which I spoke about. Adjudication stuff is in there. The one thing I would like to point out, or just kind of a notice, some of our numbers did take a little bit of dip during the month. However, I'm not too concerned about that, nor the fact that we had a lot of officers in training. But the one thing that I did want to note is that our mental health calls for the month, that was the first time last month that we actually saw a dip in our calls, that they had not started, that, as I spoke about, the last several months, they had been trending up every single month. Last month was the last, we went from, in October, we had 34. Last month, we went down to 19. Feel safe in saying that has some correlation with the fact that we have our social worker who is calling and following up with some of these in particular individuals in which we deal with on a more routine basis. But other than that, that is the monthly report. The last thing that I want to, or two things I want to remind everybody of is that we have don't forget about our webpage and then the community dashboard, lots of good information on there. And then as I like to always end, the officers doing an excellent work every single day, and I appreciate the work that they do.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions for Chief? Okay. No engineer, nothing to report, Jeff, for Kurt?
Nothing specific, other than we did meet with a structural engineer to discuss, to get a second opinion on the water treatment plant. We're awaiting a proposal from them, whether we want to go ahead and have them do a full look at it or not. We can decide that down the road, but they did come out and take a look at it with us. Let's see. That's probably it for now. I mean, Main Street, obviously, nothing's happening over there right now. We still are on track to have the Pratt Road Bridge get started in January. So things will get cooking again here real quick.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, next we have a discussion on ordinance 2025-15 regarding amending Chapter 86 Utilities of City Municipal Code, update to utility billing procedures, and owner name on utility bills. We've discussed it for a while. Do you want to start with anything, Jeff, or?
I didn't receive anything really new from anybody. I don't know how far we want to go with this one. We could put it on next time and vote it up or down, or we could talk about, do we want to consider requiring deposits if we're going to continue to have them in tenants' names? Do we want to try to work with, once we do something with our meters, do we want to consider, would we ask landlords to put in a specific meter that might help them be able to better manage their water usage and things like that if they're going to keep it in their tenant's name? Just a couple of ideas that came up. I mean, what's in the ordinance is that it would go into the landlord's name. We would try to begin that immediately in January to hopefully have a target date of having everybody done by April 1st, so that by the first of the year, all of those would be in the landlord's name and their responsibility. I saw something from Denise. I believe you said we think about 300 landlords. Is that about what you had estimated?
That was an estimate.
Okay.
Many landlords own multiple properties. We would have to manually go through and get an accurate number. But that is correct. We got roughly, or have roughly 300 landlords for properties in town.
Yeah, and that's one of the concerns too, is just the time of making sure that we can get through and get in touch with everybody that we need to be able to register them in time. So.
And I did receive a call from the mayor earlier tonight talking about this, and basically, if there wasn't anything new to discuss with it, that we would just have it in the agenda for the first meeting in January. But in the meantime, for everyone, just to, again, consider what you've been already looking into, and if anything else comes up, share it within the next couple of weeks over the holidays, and so we can get a decision made in January.
May I make a comment here? So
absolutely.
Denise provided us some information on the delinquency from November, and so I did some calculations on this. So based upon what we had last in November, there were 37 tenants. That represents 45.7%. And the owners, there were 44 of those, so that's 54.3. So we actually have more owners that were delinquent than tenants at that point. On the commercial side of the house, there were 11, and that represents 78.6%. And there were 3 in the owners. Sorry, the first one was tenants, if I didn't say that. The 3 were owners, and that was at 21.4. So in looking at that, Denise, is it fair to say that the numbers that you gave me in this other, there were 6 turnoffs that had to take place
I believe there was 8.
out of this? So there was a total of,
I think there was 8 that were actually scheduled to be shut off.
right, 2 paid,
Yep,
right? So there were actually 6 that needed to be turned off, 4 could be turned off, and 2 couldn't because of B-boxes.
correct.
So the 6 out of the 81, that represents 7.4% of the delinquency here. I don't see this as needing to be done in my mind. I mean, this is a lot of extra work, a lot of extra to track. I say we leave it the way that it is and press forward. And then once we get the monthly billing system put into play, that should hopefully alleviate some of these hardships that our residents are facing with these higher water bills and so forth. They can pay them on a more consistent monthly basis and hopefully be in a better affordability for everyone. That's my opinion on this. It's a lot of extra that we're gonna have to do in track and deposits. You know, originally when I proposed that, I thought it was going to be simple with our system. However, our system is not going to be able to afford us to do that currently. So if it's a manual effort to try to calculate everything else about how many of these are habitual offenders, then I think it's going to be a more problematic experience for you and your staff, Denise, to move this forward without a better computer system.
I agree with that. I also would like to stress, which I have before, council's been kind of supportive, is that monthly billing would make a big difference. We'd be able to monitor it and stay on top of it rather than doing the quarterly that we are now.
The other part of this idea with switching into the landlords too, didn't it have something to do with when tenants would leave and we aren't able to get that money or whatever because they're gone and that's it, as opposed to if it was the landlord, I mean.
Yeah, but currently, right now, if that happens, the landlord pays it. I think where Denise was experiencing a bigger hardship was when an actual homeowner left and left us high and dry. There was no recourse on that front, correct, Denise?
Well, that's true too, and I must confess that we've kind of streamlined how we're handling the collections now. Once again, staying on top of it, we're enforcing the liens. I have template letters, and if you're a landlord, I give you X number of days, and if you don't have that account current, I'm going to file a lien. And I've had landlords say, I didn't think you were serious. So they ignored it too. But we're starting to see the tide turn. It's becoming a little bit more positive in collecting the money. Again, it's just staying on top of it, and that quarterly is the problem. 3 months later, you realize you've got a delinquency, and where do you start? When someone's moved out of state, we had one move out of the country, but I got the money. So it does work if you stay on top of it.
Well, and I fully agree that we need to focus on trying to get to the monthly billing. To say that 6 or 8 are not enough to consider anything, I don't, with all due respect, I don't know if I agree with that. Our problem is that in the last 2 cycles, we've averaged between 17 and 18% of our total bills get some sort of penalty because they're not paying it on time. Whether that's just not bringing it to us or what have you. So I mean, when you're talking 17, 18%, and then by the time that goes on, We're at about 12 to 14% over the last 2 cycles had to be issued late notices. And then from that, we got the 8% on blue cards, which is actually hanging a card at their house saying that we're going to have to shut them off. That's a big deal. So we had, yeah, I mean, and it's, when it's 50, I mean, last cycle, it was 50 homes we had to go and put cards on. We had to hang tags on them. That means our staff is not out doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're out there hanging tags. And so, I mean, I completely agree. Our focus needs to be to get to monthly billing because I think it's going to improve our customer service and I think it's going to help everybody to get to that point. But I think all of this is become a problem. And it's beating up our staff and it's not great for residents. I think it's just one of those things we have to figure out and move forward.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. However, like when we're talking about tenants versus owners, the owners were heavier in the regular accounts.
Yep.
So my thought process is that in each cycle, if there's 4 cycles, right, that you're doing. So I was thinking, sorry, 3 cycles. So I was thinking there was going to be 100 or 75 out of that, you know, were going to be, it's a low number. I think what you have here is you have people that are strapped for cash and they're getting the notices and they're making changes to try to pay their bills and they're coming and paying their bills. So I think if we change the way we do our billing, that's going to eventually help them in the long run. And either way, I think if you could have a landlord at this point that decides that they're gonna wait and have you hang a card and tell them and do that and then come back. You could have the same exact thing happen. I have had a bunch of landlords reach out to me and they are totally opposed to it. And I have to say that if I was a landlord, I would be in the same boat. I mean, somebody could not like what's going on and they just let the toilet run or they let the spigot run or water their lawn and everything like this. And next thing you know, they got a $1,000 water bill.
No, I agree with you.
I think you have to look though too, I mean, if there's all these other municipalities that have it that way, it has to be working for them. I mean, in the paperwork we got, it says most municipalities have it in the landlord's name. So it has to work for them. I mean, if you're gonna leave your water on, eventually your landlord's just gonna take you to court to get that money. He'll get it eventually.
Yeah,
I mean, but who-
you're not gonna get it on that side, I can tell you that.
Oh, you
I have friends that have properties and they've had issues getting it.
I've-
I just think that the amount that this number represents for the tenants, I don't think it warrants the change currently. I think we need to change our processes internally. That's my 2 cents.
Honestly, I think we need to go to monthly building. We've talked about this before. I did have one landlord call me, and he spoke of an incident. It took 2 years to get a tenant out of the property. And throughout the 2 years, it comes down to it, they could have done whatever they wanted with the water. And on a 90-day billing cycle, I mean, you can really drown you. I mean, yes, have to be mindful about finances and money. Sandwich isn't in the property management program. We didn't ask anybody to invest and buy multiple rental properties. What we have to look out for is our own utility. Yes, we have to look out for people too. That's why I think we do nothing with this until we can get to monthly billing. And once we get to monthly billing, it gives the landlord a little more control over the situation.
Okay. That enough discussion on that for now, and we'll talk about it in January. Okay. Next, we have discussion to formalize policy with regard to lead service line replacement and reimbursement not related to the Main Street project. Again, same thing. We've talked about it. We've done a survey, I think.
Yeah, I had 5 respondents.
5 now.
Yeah.
So if anybody else wants to add on to it, you can in the next 2 weeks. You can say anything you'd like to tonight, but otherwise it's gonna come up in a couple of weeks, first of the year again, and hopefully we'll have a determination at that point what we're gonna do. But I think as of right now, anything emergency-wise that comes up, all we're telling people is that worst-case scenario, they're gonna owe 50%, correct?
But we haven't done anything with that, but if that's the direction of the
Well,
council, that's what I'll do, because
What are we doing now with the emergency ones
we're
then?
just, we're letting them ride until we have an answer.
Well, 50% was already approved, though,
If that's what you'd like me to implement, that's what I can implement.
but it was
One,
approved.
I just think that's the worst-case scenario.
Okay.
Now, that they be told that that's it. I mean,
Okay.
if it was up to me, it would be, we're gonna do 100% for them, but it's not gonna be up to me. It's gonna be up to all 8 of us, so.
And we don't have all the documentation as far as how many are we actually looking at.
Correct.
We don't have the numbers even to make a informed decision, so,
There's more information we need, and it would be nice to
Absolutely.
know
Oh,
how
without a
many
doubt.
we have,
without a doubt. Yep.
so.
And I'm gonna kick this dead horse again, is I did the survey, and going through the survey and whatnot, it gave multiple questions, multiple options as far as 100%, 50%, different types of ways to do things. If we're gonna look at 75% of the town and ask 75% of the town to help pay for lead lines for the other 25%, we need to be fiscally responsible to 100% of the town. 100. We can't be looking and saying, okay, I understand this is where your water line's coming in. It's going to cost us 10,000 this year, 11,000 next year, 12,000 the following year. We can move it over here, we can open cut, we can still get you a good water line, clean water, lead gone. It's going to cost a little less, but we are taking care of the problem. I think it's going to be very hard for us to look at all of our neighbors that have copper lines and say, you know what, I voted to give them a free convertible top on their car just because they wanted it. I think 99% of our residents are just going to be thankful for having the copper line. Not because they have to put some grass seed out in the spring. We have got to be fiscally responsible, especially considering we don't know the true impact of where we're at on this. Is it 1 million, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? We don't know. So we've got to start right now being fiscally responsible.
I also think going into it, we already know that we can't afford it, period. Whatever we decide, whether we're 100%, 50%, we can't afford it right now, so we're gonna figure out how it's gonna be financed. So, anything further on that? Otherwise, a couple of weeks. Okay. Third thing is discussion of potential changes to license and permit fees for implementation, May 1st, 2026. I believe 2 weeks ago, we got some copies of some paperwork, and then we got some more updated ones this past week, showing you what some of the fees are. Permit fees, I think, 2 weeks ago, I think there were some suggestions as far as, again, nothing in stone, but what things could maybe move to. And then I think they were just ideas. It wasn't something that has to be or anything. That's gonna be up for the council to discuss, but everyone needs to make sure that they look that over and figure it out, whether or not they need to increase things, add things. There were things on there that were brought up for the first time ever that there's not even a fee associated with. Some of the things talking about business registration, also landlord registration, things like that. And not necessarily where any of those would have to have a fee or anything, but just a matter of doing it. So there's a way of being able to contact people and keep track of those kinds of things. So again, more stuff to look at. Anything else I'm missing, Jeff?
No, just especially under amusements and entertainments, there's a lot of them on there that seem outdated. I don't know if we want to go to the trouble to regulating those other than, you know, I mean, I guess we do want to know when the circus comes to town, but I can't remember the last menagerie that came to town. So I just think we could probably go through that. You know, we still allow shooting galleries according to this for $25 per year, which I don't know. I don't know what constitutes a shooting gallery exactly, but I just think we should look at all those and make sure that if it's something that we don't think we would want to either allow or want to sanction any further, then I think we should probably take it off the list just to make it a little easier to track. It took a lot of checking to try to find all these and figure out where they are in the code and what fees are what. And I think, you know, we've done a decent job the last couple years of doing some of these, but this is the first time we're able to look at all of them. I've included for you all of the liquor license stuff, all the scavenger fees, amusements and entertainment, building for residential and commercial. And I think that's pretty much it. But yeah, there's a lot of different things. Like, I don't know that we would charge $5 if somebody wants to hold a dance. It's on there, but is it something we want to continue to have on our books? So, okay, that's all I had, is I just wanted to try and get them all in one place. You guys got a chance to take a look at them?
Yep, absolutely.
The end of March, I start the licensing process for liquor license and non-liquor permits. Mayor Latham has indicated in previous years that video gaming, he'd like to see that increase in increments. And I have discovered other towns through the clerk's trunk line are now doing away with license for amusements, say dartboards or your coin operated. And what they have done is they have maxed the video gaming permit. For non-home rule, that is $250 per machine. So that's something you might want to think about. I'm not saying to go that high, but that would eliminate a lot of these smaller permits and licenses. And it would make the process smoother for me. It takes me 6 weeks to issue those licenses and permits.
And like she said, since she sends that out late March, we would want to have something decided by the latest, I would assume, early March to get it passed. So I know January, we've got a lot of things we're gonna be deciding with the water bills, lead service, water lines, and then with the fees. So if everybody can take the time to look at those too and kind of do your own notes and highlighting of what you think we could get rid of or increase or whatever the case might be. Any other comments about the fees? Okay. No new business, so report of the alderman. Alderman Arnett.
The only report I have is Don and I meet every Monday before council with Brad. And I'm just gonna go back to, this has to do with water lines, water meters, identification of water lines in people's homes and whatnot. I'm still gonna push for the additional employee in the water department. We have got to start identifying these water lines in people's homes, being proactive, so we can actually find out really how much we're going to be financially into this. That's all I got.
Thank you. Alderman Chun.
I have nothing tonight.
Thank you. Alderman Danko.
One other little thing, we have a fire hydrant that was hit by Arts and waiting on parts. So they got a little A-frame over it right now, but they're working on it. So that's all I got.
Any idea if it was a plow that got it or?
They don't know.
Okay,
Wasn't one of our plows.
okay. I was curious. I
I'm
saw it.
sure, I hope it wasn't one of our
Yeah.
plows.
All right, thank you. Alderman Erickson.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Thank you. Alderwoman Inman.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Ketchum.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Cranbrink.
The only thing that I have is we did meet as a budget committee on December 3rd. And a few of the things that we came up with is, first off, the budget looks in line with our spending based upon where we are in the fiscal year. There were some concerns brought forth on some of the overtime rates, and hopefully those will be coming down now they're fully staffed. There were a few discussions in regards to the vehicles and how we could potentially create a reserve fund for vehicles and equipment, so that way then we have a little bit of a savings account per se for some of our equipment so that we are not digging into our budget every year. So there could hopefully be a little reserve account put into that, and Wes was in line with that. Of course, that's going to be a slow-moving train at this point because we're a little tight for money, as we all know. The other thing, too, that we talked about was we currently know where we stand financially with our expenses, but how much of our expenses are due to future payouts? So what have we encumbered currently on a project? It was a $1 million project. Is there a way that we can get into our computer system or a new funding system to where we would encumber that $1 million, would be drafted out of our budget, and then we would expense our payouts, and then we'd have a better vision of where we were going to be heading fiscally for that year. So you don't look at the balance sheet and think you have 3 million when really you only have 2 million. So that was a thing that we would like to get put into place at some point. We also talked about overtime versus hiring people to see if that might be a way that we could get some of our things taken care of, and also not outsourcing as much. If we could utilize our internal resources to be able to do some of these functions, such in the street department, water department with our own personnel versus contracting it out, it would ultimately be better for us. We did set up meeting dates, so we have February 4th, February 11th, February 18th, and February 25th at 4:30, and we'll be going through a process of the fiscal calendar here that came out. Jeff, did you send this out to the whole council by chance?
We passed it out at the budget meeting is what we did.
But could you maybe send it
Yeah,
out
we
to the
can
rest of them,
resend
then
it.
everybody would have that? So basically, it's going to be a fast-track system here to where, we're starting actually right now with everything. Staff is getting some numbers put together, and then hopefully by March 2nd, we'll have a draft budget, and then our game plan is to hopefully have a final passage on April 6th. A lot of good communication and dialogue during that meeting, though. Thank you for everybody that participated.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
I do not have anything, and I don't have anything for announcements. Audience comments?
Good evening, everyone. For your own edification, I surveyed 61 municipalities in various counties. Not one solely puts the name of the renter, tenant, whatever nomenclature you want to utilize, utilities. Not one. Several of them, most are monthly billing. There were about 25% that were quarter. And the people who I spoke with, they said that if the tenant is on the bill, it is with the permission of the landlord. The landlord is the major payer, is the default payer. If the tenant does not pay, it automatically goes to the landlord. 61. And since nobody said they simply put the bills in the renter's name, I thought that was enough, like keep shooting a dead horse. So if that helps you make your decision, I would prefer that you do it sooner than later rather than wait. I understand it might be more work, but I'm afraid that you're going to run into a whole litany of problems when you go to monthly billing and software, only because I've been there and done that on another city council. Anyway, the other thing is the derelict vehicles. Chief was kind enough to put out a thing on Facebook, social media about the derelict vehicles, and there seems to be a plethora of them in my neighborhood. And it's easy to see because they're snowed in now. So I'm a little upset with how many are out there, and nothing's being done. I truly feel that warnings do nothing, absolutely nothing. They just don't pay any attention to them. You guys are all short of funds, right? When I lived in Bull Valley, we had no business in that municipality, absolutely none. How do we survive? Tickets. That's how that municipality survives to this day. There is no business in Bull Valley. It's in McHenry County. It is all tickets. You might want to think about it. Thank you.
Thank you. No other audience comments? Motion to adjourn? Motion by Alderman
Second.
Erickson, second by Alderwoman Inman. All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any opposed?